All right, here we are. We are live. We are live on Zoom. We're live on YouTube. And I am so excited for today's session because this is, I know it sounds cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's really true because today we're shifting out of the realm of looking at our beliefs and into embodied action. Remember, there are three steps in the manifestation process. Ask, which means clarify your desire. We have to give design to this infinite power. If you don't give it design, how does it know what you want? So, that first step in the manifestation process, and remember, manifestation is something that's so normal and natural for us. We don't need to learn how to do it. But you are here to learn how to do it deliberately. And the very first step, you did it on day one, and you're going to continue to refine this, I'm sure, is clarify what you want. That's the fun part, at least for me. And I know for many people it is. For some people, like I have some clients who are really challenged with that part. That's okay. We're all different. But I think it's so fun to go to that level of expanded, non-restricted awareness of what do I really want in my heart of hearts. Then it's not enough to just clarify it, though. Remember, it's desire combined with expectation. We've got to believe. The desire and expectation have to match. We've got to believe, not just intellectually, but on the level of assumption that this is for us. This thing that we've clarified, that we've never done before, that's way bigger than what we currently conceive is possible for us, that scares us a little bit, is actually meant for us. And it's ours. And we actually need to learn how to believe that we've already got it, which I know is a real trip for most people because we're so conditioned that that reality is what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. But there's so much more to reality than that. So much more. And everything seen, everything that you can experience with your five senses has its origin in the invisible. So most of us we discount the invisible realm, but that is the majority of the reality of existence. We can't pick it up with our senses until it solidifies and becomes a thing. But first, it begins as a thought. Your thoughts become things. So the very fact that you have the thought of what you desire actually means you already have it. And if you can learn how to get into that, onto the frequency of your goal, of your desire, into the vibration of your goal, your desire, and hang out there. This is what I coach my clients to do. Learn how to hang out there, learn how to embody that, and direct your thinking and your feeling and your action based on that. That's how you manifest it. And that's what we're going to look at today. Today's class, I was like, gosh, what do I call it? I don't even remember anymore the exact title I gave it, but for me, what I'm calling it, what I've written down on this page where I have a few notes scribbled is it's fear, faith, and the power of decision. Because it's not enough to know what you want. It's not enough to imagine it. It's not enough to spend time feeling it as true. At a certain point, all that's got to click and you've got to take action. Our culture is primarily focused on the action. And so it's become very there's a huge misperception about the role of action. I think of action really as the finishing step. Like imagine think about baking a cake. And by the way, I just have to say, if you were to judge, a cake looks like a mess in the process, right? There's a whole process involved in making a cake. And before it goes in the oven, it's like this gooey, runny mess that looks nothing like a cake. What if you were to judge that right there and say, "Oh, this isn't working out. This is I failed. This isn't a cake." And then you just threw it away. All that effort put in. A lot of people do that in their lives. I used to do that all the time. Oh my God, look, I just totally screwed it up. This isn't how it's supposed to look. This isn't how it's supposed to be. I guess I have to start over. I spent my whole life starting over, spinning my wheels, starting over. When actually what I wasn't doing was trusting the process. And why? Because I didn't understand the process. The only reason you would judge a cake at that point is because you don't have full knowledge of the process of manifesting and baking that cake start to finish. But once you have the knowledge, how do you gain the knowledge? By studying the recipe, by studying the process. Once you have the knowledge, you look at it at that point, you say, "Oh, it's fine. Actually, all I need to do is bake it now." And then you put it in the oven. So what I'm going to shine a light on for you today is pretty much that, how to bake the cake in your life. How to go from all the ingredients of what you want and put it all together and stick the process through to completion until it solidifies as an actual physical fact in your life. Because we're not here to just mess around with these concepts. I haven't devoted my life to teaching this material so that you can just become uh, more knowledgeable and have more information about this. I have devoted my life to this so that you can have actual results. Otherwise, what's the point? It's really important to understand. That's huge. But if we're not using our understanding, the understanding is being wasted. So, but the action part is when you put it in the oven. But that's actually just like maybe 5% of the process. So I like to say, action is like, we'll say maybe 10% here of this manifestation process. Because there are a lot of people, and maybe you are one of them. I was sort of one of them. I used to go back and forth between taking a lot of action, not the right action, because it wasn't aligned with my goals. And I actually didn't even have goals for a long time. And then I would change my actions. We'll get all into that with decision, or procrastinating. But procrastination is a form of action. We're always doing something. So even not doing is doing. And but there are a lot of people out there that are like taking so much action, putting so much effort, working so hard, and then but not seeing their desired results. Why? Because they haven't done the other part of the process, which is what you have done over the past couple days. They haven't, maybe they've clarified their goals, but they've been focused on the how and not the who. So yesterday in the class on self-image, on the who, that is the most important part, because remember, this process we're engaged in and all of our life processes are governed by these laws. And remember, the law of attraction is governed by the law of vibration. You get, as a result, an exact match, not to what you want consciously, intellectually, but to who you're being, to your vibration, to your predominant energetic state. So you could be taking so much action, but you're taking all that action from your old identity. you're not going to get your goal will not manifest. You're going to get results that are congruent with your old identity, your old set points, your old financial set point, your old relationship set point, your old health set point, your old fulfillment set point. And that's why people just keep running themselves into the ground. And then they just are like, well, I guess I'm not meant for this. That's what I started to tell myself. And I would say things like, I guess the universe is trying to tell me that this isn't for me, as if the universe was something outside of myself. Actually, what I was trying to tell myself was that I didn't believe in myself enough to claim it from me. I didn't love myself enough to claim it for me. I didn't know the truth of who I was enough to claim it for me. And so I was pretty much self-sabotaging. I recently made a post on social media. Maybe some of you saw it. I don't remember if I said this the other day, but it doesn't matter. It's just so good. Self-sabotage is your unconscious commitment to staying the same. That's all it is. That's what I was doing for all those years when I would get pretty close to graduating or achieving something. And then I'd say, oh, you know what? Never mind. I changed my mind. I'm out. That was self-sabotage. It put me right back at square one. It put me right back in that place of like, I guess I'm lost. I guess I don't know what I want. I guess I can't have it. I guess I'm not good enough. Look, 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 look. I got all this evidence. That was my subconscious paradigm saying, nope, you've got to stay the same, Sarah, because your set point is set at this. And this is what I do. This is the mechanism. It's automatic. But remember what I said the other day. That's kind of bad news, right? But the good news is the same thing. Once you know how to get in there and change the setting, you're going to automatically manifest the new set point. So this action I'm talking about today isn't forced action. It's aligned action. And what I mean by that is it's action that's being taken in the vibration, in the assumption that you already are the person who has achieved your goals. And you're like, okay, well, how do I get there? Well, I started you off yesterday in the class and then in the workbook. Go to the workbook. I worked on this workbook a lot. That was an achievement for me. I used to have so much resistance. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna make a workbook. Come on. I made a workbook, so use it. Oh, you're welcome, Michelle. I'm glad. Some of you are using it, and I'm not speaking. I'm just, I'm encouraging. This is encouragement. Use the workbook because I, I did my best to condense a lot of teaching into a few short pages for each day. And the questions in the workbook get you to start applying this to your own life. Otherwise, what's the point? You didn't come here to spend an hour with me every day to just fluff around. You came here to change your lives. So looking at the questions in the workbook, how do you currently see yourself? Being like truthfully honest, being really raw and being willing to just be like, wow, ow, like I don't really like how I look when I look at myself in the mirror. I don't really feel confident when I go out in public. I feel insecure when I speak my mind, all these different things. And then you ask yourself, how do I feel? How do I think? How do I act now that my goal is achieved? And you have another identity that comes through there. And that is so amazing. Where does that identity come from? Everyone's is different. She's in you and she's trying to get out. She's like, let me out. I'm ready. Like, let me out. Let me out. Now, I just want to say, and I think I don't remember all the things I said, but I think I already said this too, but who cares? This is not necessarily comfortable to let her out. It's this really interesting dynamic we have with ourselves, right? Where we're dissatisfied and we know we want to change, and yet we're comfortable in our suffering. It's true. We're comfortable expecting not very much. We're comfortable receiving not very much. We're comfortable just not being very fulfilled. It's really kind of weird, actually, but it's true. And the only reason we're so comfortable with it is because it just feels so normal. Like I am living in a house right now that I wasn't living in at this time last year. And when I first moved in, it wasn't totally comfortable. But now it's so comfortable. Why? It's just become normal. So we're comfortable with what's normal, even if what's normal, and that actually I love this house so much. So it's I'm not applying that to this house example, but in our lives, even if what's normal is causing us um, a lot of dissatisfaction, suffering, pain, all the things that we want to change, it's comfortable. So keep this in mind as we go through today's class, because today's class is about willingly getting uncomfortable. And that's what I look at as that. I look at the word fear now as just that. I'm uncomfortable. And that's a good thing. Now, I used to, when I would feel fear or feel uncomfortable, say, oh, it must be wrong. I'm out of here. Bye. Because it was just a, kind of survival mechanism of like, well, I got to stay safe. Survival's not going to keep you, not going to let you really grow and expand and thrive the way that you want to. You have to actually just kick that out the door and become established fully that all my needs are always now and forever supplied. I don't need to worry about the survival thing. But I'm here for a reason. I'm here for a reason. And I'm here to do that. So let's focus on that. Why are you here? Why were you born? What is in you that is seeking to express itself uniquely in a way that no one else can do it on the planet? And who are you? The truth of who you are, don't forget it, is the infinite creative power itself, embodied and encoded in every single atom of your cells. You're an infinite being with infinite power, with infinite resources at your disposal, with infinite ideas available to you, with infinite love backing you up, with infinite vitality coursing through your body, even if you don't feel it right now, or perhaps it's blocked for some reason or the other, it's still there under the surface, in the very essence of who you are. That is the truth. And we're here to remember that truth and express it in our own unique way here in this 3D, so that the 4D and the 3D become one, which they already are, but we've lost that connection. So, all right, come on, bring it back, Sarah. The key word for today, embodiment. This is the part that I was missing and that so many people are missing who study these universal laws, who study the manifestation process. We forget or we don't realize that in order for it to actually happen in our individual lives, we've got to embody it. What does embodiment really mean? It has that word body in it, right? So what you wrote down in the workbook, or what you will be writing down, is a description in the I am of the woman, which is yourself, of who you are with your goal achieved. And you'll see, wow, it's really different from how I currently see myself. Okay. Well, now comes the part where you practice being her. And I'm not talking acting as if. I used to frame it that way, and I realized, no, when I say I'm acting as if, I'm telling myself I'm not. Think about think about if you're just beginning to play an instrument. The moment you make the decision to play that instrument and you start playing it, you're a musician. Even if you only know like one or two chords or a few notes, you have the instrument, you play it, you're a musician, you're making music. But you practice so that you are become very skilled at expressing your potential of being a musician. So you already are this person. This is not someone you are becoming. This is someone you are, and you're practicing being able to express it. I like to look at it that way. And one of the most important things is that you embody the feeling of being her. It has a vibe. Last night on my call with my clients, I talked about it like a matching game. Everyone's played that memory game, right? With all the cards, you have them down, you pick one up, you look for the match. This manifestation business is a matching game. It must be congruent. What you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how you're moving through the world must be congruent with your goal. You can't have a financial goal. Let's say your goal is you have made a decision. I am a millionaire. Remember, a goal is a decision. I'm a millionaire. Now, you don't have that money right now in your bank account because you just made that decision. And you had made a decision unconsciously a long time ago that perhaps you were a $50,000 a year earner. It wasn't a conscious decision. You just acquired that conditioning from your parents and from society, and that's all you could expect of yourself on a subconscious level. So that's all you manifested. It was the law of mental equivalence. That was the biggest concept you could hold for yourself. So that's all you were manifesting. Now you've expanded your concept, okay? From 50,000 a year to a million. You cannot expect to manifest that million if you keep thinking thoughts of someone who earns $50,000 a year. If you keep feeling feelings of someone who earns $50,000 a year. If you keep taking actions of someone who earns $50,000 a year, you cannot manifest that million. And this is when it starts to get scary, uncomfortable. But just stay with me because it doesn't have to be difficult. So the embodiment is, okay, now I make decisions from my millionaire identity. So let's talk about that word decision. I looked it up. I've heard it before, but I looked it up this morning just to get the up to date remembrance of it. That word decision, the Latin root of the word decision, I wrote it down. Where did I write it down? Means a cutting off. Like incision, decision, that part, scission, means to cut off. So a decision is something that cuts off other options. And that's extremely important because we exist in a infinite reality. But we're having a physical experience. So your decision-making process is what is selecting what you are. When you make a decision, you're selecting what you're going to experience here physically, and you are cutting yourself off from other possibilities. So decision is a really, 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 really important and powerful thing. And it's a skill. And most of us were not taught the right way to make decisions. I certainly wasn't. I think I mentioned the other day, I was the one in the ice cream parlor saying, could I try that one? Do I like this? I don't even know. I think I do, but maybe I like that more. Did I like that more? I'm not sure. I'll try that. I like one of my most predominant assumptions about myself was this simple phrase, I don't know. I was sold on the idea that I didn't really know what I wanted. I was sold on the idea that I was a terrible decision maker. And I became known as Sarah being someone who has difficulty making decisions. So what I would do would be, I would take a long time to decide and I would use my pendulum and I would muscle test myself and I would pick a tarot card and I would consult the I Ching. I'm not kidding here. I would, I'm actually an extremely intuitive person and I get answers. I ask and I get answers. And I ask in, I don't ask in all those ways anymore. I don't need to. I just go straight to the source. I ask, I get the answer, I take action. But I used to like ask in all these different ways why I didn't trust the answer. Why? Because I didn't trust myself. Why? Because I didn't know who I really was. And I was under the delusion that I was pretty powerless and I was scared. So I would go through that whole process and I would arrive at a decision and then I would painstakingly make that decision with like, quite a bit of fear behind it. And then I would change my mind. And some of these decisions were big decisions, maybe like requiring a lot of money or time commitment, of course. Some of them were actually pretty small decisions, like, am I going to take that trip? I remember when I lived in San Francisco, this is when I thought, you know what, maybe I'm really insane. Maybe I really, something seriously wrong with me. I remember making the decision, and I say in quotation marks because it was like a laborious process to make the decision to go to some event. And I got on the BART train, the public transportation, and I started going to the event. While I was on my way to the event on the train, I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to go. I got off the train, and then I got on the next train going the other direction back home. I got on that train, and while it was taking me back home, I was like, actually, I think I do. I got off that train, and then I got back on the train going to the event. Then I got to the event, and I changed my mind one last time, and I went home. I'm not kidding. And that pretty much summed up my life until I came to this work. I was so confused. I couldn't make a decision to save my life. And then I didn't know why nothing was like really changing in my life, why I kept having results I didn't really want. And then, or I would go the other way. There were times when I made a quick decision without giving it any thought, but the decision was totally based on an outside assessment of the situation, of what someone else thought I should do. And then I would end up sorry that I made that decision. So decision is what can actually get your life expanding and growing and moving in a really positive direction, or it's what can really hold you back and keep you down. So this class today, and it's already halfway over, but that's okay. I'm perfectly right on time, is really, really powerful. So we're going to talk about making decisions, learning how to make decisions from the identity of the woman with your goal achieved. What would she do? Do it. And then but here's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually show you some slides that are right out of the Thinking into Results program that I facilitate. Our lesson 7 is all about fear and faith and taking action. And I took some slides straight out of the workbook that I'm going to share with you today because Bob Proctor gives such a great graphic understanding of this process that he calls the terror barrier. I call it that sometimes. It sounds sometimes a little dramatic for me. That word terror is like, and barrier is also like, but It's actually very well named because there is this invisible barrier that arises when we make a decision that's beyond our conditioning. My whole life, my paradigm was controlling my decision making, and that's why I was so back and forth because my paradigm was all set in lack and limitation and fear. And the paradigm tries to keep you safe by keeping you exactly where you are. So what I teach and what Bob taught me is to make decisions from the place of your goal, regardless of what your paradigm says. But your paradigm is not going to just say, okay, honey, amazing, let's do it. Mm-mm. It's going to put up a fight. It's going to tell you, you can't do that. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough support. You don't have enough knowledge. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. You don't have enough experience. You're too old. Uh, Whatever. All those things, your paradigm's going to come in and say, this isn't wise. This is illogical. This is really unsafe, blah, 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 blah. It's going to come in and say those things to you. And this is why people need support. Because what happens then for most people, and I'm about to show it to you, I'm going to share my screen and show you the process. But what happens then for most people is they say, okay, never mind. That was a stupid idea anyway. Who do I think I am? Maybe I'll do it next year. Maybe I'll do it when I have a little more money. Maybe I'll do it when I have a little more time. Maybe I'll do it when the kids are grown up. Maybe I'll do it when I have more energy. And that never works. That keeps you exactly where you are. So let me show you. Let's see. Well, okay, slideshow. Excuse me, let me just get it. Play from the current slide. Okay, this is just a quick reminder of the three parts of the manifestation process. I just went over that. It's the ask. You're clarifying your desire. Then the allowing part is where actually most people get stuck before they even take action. They don't really believe it's possible for them. They don't ever expect it to happen. But if they do, then they have to start to take the action. And that's what we're talking about today. But this quote, I talked about this last night in my client call. I had to bring up the slide because I always forgot the exact wording of it, but it's so powerful. So I made a whole slide for it. The law of nature is do the thing, and then you shall have the power. But they who do not the thing have not the power. Ralph Waldo Emerson. So this statement is the best instruction you could possibly have on how to manifest your goals. You've got to make the first move. Most people say, I'll do it when dot, 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 dot. When I have the money, when I have the time, when I have the energy. Basically, when I have the power, I'll do it. Mm-mm. You've got to do it first, meaning you've got to take the step. It's not like you've got to do the whole thing. You've got to take the first step. You've got to make the decision. I'm doing this. And then I'm taking action that I can take right now with the energy of myself already having achieved that, with this energy of my success is guaranteed. I already see it done. Think about the Wright brothers who invented the airplane. They're quoted, I mean, their father told them they were going to burn in hell for thinking they could fly, by the way. He was, I think, some evangelist minister of some sort. He told them they were going to burn in hell. And they would mess around, as Bob would say, these two young bicycle mechanics, they would mess around with the airplane trying to get it, off the ground, and it would crash. And one of them would say to him, to their brother, never fear, brother. I see I see in my mind, we're flying in this, and it is smooth and it is beautiful. So if you can see it in your mind, it exists. Don't let anyone tell you it doesn't. Don't let anyone tell you your version of you're going to burn in hell. It's yours. But they were taking aligned action based on the belief that it was theirs. I used to not take action because I was afraid of failing. But you know what? I wrote this down too. We have this on our refrigerator downstairs. My children, two of my children play lacrosse. It's a kind of an East Coast sport. But it's a picture of a lacrosse stick with a ball in it and then a goal, and it says you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I used to try to prevent myself from failing by not deciding to do the thing, but actually not doing the thing is the only thing that ensures your failure. Think about it. It's crazy, right? We're so afraid. So we don't do it, and then we actually set ourselves up. We've already failed. So the law of nature is when you take the step, the universe, which is not outside of you, it's in you and around you and operating through you, meets you with the power, the resources, the energy, the opportunities, the ideas necessary to keep going, to do more of it, and to keep it letting it expand until it becomes the finished thing. So you've got to be willing to you've got to make the first move. The universe, God, infinite intelligence, creative power, it's got your back 100%. But you've got to make the first move. And in fact, I like to show this. I mean, we're going to get into this tomorrow when we talk about money, but it says it on the money. It says it on our money. There's a picture of a pyramid, and it says annuit coeptus over the pyramid. And that means he or she supports our undertakings, meaning God, creative power, supports our undertakings. That's what you have to believe in order to have the money to do what you want to do. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I'm jumping the gun here, but this is so important. You got to do the thing. But what happens? Okay, now we're going to get into it. You ready? Okay. Well, I guess I'll go through my slides for a minute. It's going to get us where I want to go. I put this quote from Think and Grow Rich in here because it's so important to understand. Napoleon Hill, who studied like over 500 of the world's most successful people, said, successful people he saw the trend. He said they make decisions promptly and change them slowly, if at all. The universe likes quickness. You make a decision promptly. Don't change your mind. I used to be the opposite. I would take forever to make a decision, and then I would change my mind all the time. Doesn't work. Okay, so here we go. This is when we're going to get into the whole process about understanding fear and decision making and faith. Okay, I'm going to do my best to give it to you in the next 20 minutes. So this is our friend, the stick person again. Welcome back to Stick Person Land. Now, here in this picture of the stick person, we have these X's on the stick person. We have the power moving through us. That's always happening. It's constant. Without the power, we don't exist. We are the power. The power of the universe, the creative power, is flowing to and through us and from us at all times, okay? And it's always for expansion, by the way, remember. It's always for the good, actually. I'm going to stay focused here. Stay focused, Sarah. It's coming into us, right? The top circle is your consciousness. This is your mind. Top half of the circle is your intellect. Bottom half of the circle is your subconscious mind. That little circle at the bottom is your body. Now we see an X in the intellect, an X in the subconscious, an X on the body, and an X outside the body next to the word R, the letter R, which is symbolizing your results. So what does this mean? This represents a person who has their conditioning. Let's just say it's your conditioning. X symbolizes your conditioning. So you have your X type conditioning in your intellect. You have the way that you think according to your conditioning. You have the X type energy, that conditioning in your emotional mind. How you feel is all based on your conditioning, your paradigms. And then you have an X type energy in your body, X type vibration in your body. It all matches. It's all the same conditioning. You have that same conditioning in your body, and you get results that directly match your conditioning. This is called being comfortable. This is maybe not called being happy or called being satisfied, but it's so comfortable to be like to think X thoughts and have X feelings and X vibe and X results. Wow, that's so comfortable. But it's so stagnant. Okay, now this is what happens. Okay. All of a sudden, you come to like my class, let's say, and someone like me says, think about what you want. And you write down what you want and you set a goal. Okay. That is the why idea. You have just gotten an idea, a goal that is because the reason it's called why is because it's totally different from your conditioning. It's not based on what you've done before. It's not based on what you really think you can do. It's not based on what society tells you is even makes any sense given your education or your history or your upbringing or anything. It's like outside of your conditioning. And you love it. You love this why idea, whatever it is. Like, let's say this why idea. Let's say you've been in a 9 to 5 job for the past like 15 years and you get this idea, I'm going to start my own business. That's a why idea. You've never had your own business. No one in your family has ever had their own business. Most of your friends don't have their own business. You don't have any business experience. You don't have any business education, but you love this business idea that you have. That's the why idea, okay? So you're thinking about that now. That's why now there's a why in the intellect. Now, why did all of a sudden did Bob put those antenna coming out of there? Because all of a sudden what happens is you're looking around and you're saying, well, I don't have that. I don't have any money or education or resources to do that. So your senses start picking up on what currently is your current results, starts feeding you information. Meanwhile, you're actually still in a very comfortable place here because you're just entertaining the why idea. You're not actually serious about it. So your X in your subconscious mind is still stable because you have not gotten emotionally involved with this idea. You're just bouncing it around on the level of intellect. You're like, oh yeah, it would be really cool. That would be amazing. That would be like, my life would just change so much, but you're not actually seriously considering it. So your subconscious mind is still like, I'm just all X and I'm groovy. This is like, my conditioning is solid here, keeping me safe. Paradigms are running strong. So your body, remember, your subconscious mind is in control of your body vibration. You're still in the old X vibration and you're still getting your X type results. You're still going to your job. You're still getting same money, same relationships, same everything. Nothing's really changed, but you have this idea. I'm thinking about that. Maybe that's where a lot of you are right now in this class. Maybe we'll see. I'm looking forward to talking to you. All right, now this is what starts to happen. Like, okay, so Bob calls this first one, I said comfortable. That's a very nice way of putting. He says you're in bondage here. You are just completely bound to your old conditioning. Nothing's changing for you and you're stuck. Bondage. That next diagram that I showed, he said reason. You're just reasoning with it. What would it be like if I did that? Everything else is still staying the same. But then what happens? Look. Okay. All of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. And all of a sudden, this why idea is mixing with your old conditioning. And immediately you get afraid. Immediately you start to worry. Look, worry comes up in the conscious mind because you're looking around and you're like, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. I don't have the experience. What if I lose? What if it doesn't work out? And your subconscious mind, you start to feel fear. And that registers as anxiety in your body because now you're in a chaotic vibration. You're not in the X vibration anymore, which was very comfortable. You're in the XY vibration. You're all mixed up. You haven't actually changed your self-image yet. You haven't changed your conditioning yet, but you've now just made a decision. I'm going to do this thing that I really want to do. And you are scared. You know what? You're scared shitless here. Now, this is where most people hit what Bob calls the terror barrier. This worry, this fear, this anxiety that comes up, they're like, never mind. Woo, I'm going back here. And they're like, ah, whew, wow, that was intense. I'm not doing any of it. Never mind. Forget it. Maybe next year. Maybe never. But not right now. And they go right back to bondage. I used to do that all the time. I spent decades in bondage. And you know what? It's temporarily comfortable, but there's no growth there. And what happens without the growth is you start to stagnate and disintegrate. And I became depressed and discouraged and frustrated and all the things that come along with not allowing this power to do its job, which is expansion. So now it's all of our faces are blocking me. Okay. But you can go right through this terror barrier, which is actually imaginary. It's not even real. You can go through this terror barrier. And when you go through it and you actually go through with the decision anyway, you move into freedom. You move into your expanded good because that why idea was given to you by infinite intelligence for your growth and expansion. And you say yes to it, even though you are scared shitless. And how do you do that? How do you not bounce off? And how do you go through? This is where understanding this makes all the difference. You understand, oh, I'm feeling this fear, worry, and anxiety, this massive discomfort because my old conditioning is giving me such a hard time. This new idea for my growth, for my expansion, for my ever increasing prosperity and well-being has been given to me by the divine. And it's mixing with my old paradigms. And the fear I'm feeling is coming from that, from my conditioning, but it's not true. My conditioning is not based on truth. My conditioning is based on a whole garbage pile of false assumptions about myself, about my life, about money, about God, about support, about resources, about who I am. It's all a pile of lies. The truth of who I am is infinite intelligence. I have the exact amount of power and potential as every other single person on the planet. If anyone can quit their job and start their own business successfully, I can. If anyone can become a millionaire after earning very little per year for decades, I can. And my conditioning is trying to tell me that I can't. But it's not true. And I'm doing it anyway. And then you move forward in action. So, oh, I already said this, but it's so good. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So, understanding this is the key to freedom. And how you shift from fear into faith? Faith comes through study. Why? I used to not understand this. I heard Bob say it all the time. I'm like, what do you mean? I thought faith just came from like being religious or something. Let's go back to my first day analogy about the toaster oven. You get this new toaster oven. You've never used one like this. Let's say before that you used to toasted your bread how I used to toast my bread, which I actually love to do and might go back to doing. But I used to have this thing that would sit on the gas burner. And it had, maybe you guys have seen it. It's like a metal thing. It's got these four sides. And on the four sides, you can just rest these pieces of bread. And the flame from the gas burner would toast the bread. And you would have to turn it over. Then I got an electric stove and I couldn't use that anymore, so I got a toaster oven and blah, blah, blah. But let's say your whole life you've been toasting bread the old-fashioned way, like I used to toast it. Then someone gives you this really fancy, plug-in toaster oven, and you're like, I'm afraid to use that. I'm afraid to use that. I'm afraid I'm gonna burn my toast, electrocute myself, blow up the house. I heard someone had a fire in their house when they used one of these things, and I'm afraid I'm gonna set my house on fire. And so this toaster oven would just sit there and you would just not have toast because you were afraid to use it. Okay? Stick with me here. But then someone gives you a manual and they say, just study this manual. And you're like, oh, okay, well, if I just put it on this setting, it's not going to get too hot and it has a timer, it'll turn it off and it won't over toast because it works this way. And you study the manual and you gain an understanding of how the toaster oven works. Then you have the faith instead of the fear and you use the toaster oven. Why am I talking about toaster oven? Because it's the same way. When you study the universal laws that govern you and your manifestations, you start to develop faith that I know that even though I don't see this goal yet in physical form, I know that if I work according to the law of cause and effect, I work according to the law of vibration, I work according to the law of attraction, I know by law my success is guaranteed. So I don't have to listen to all those fearful thoughts that are coming from my paradigm. Now I have a whole new body of information and knowledge and understanding that actually starts to form an energetic body of I'm good. I'm provided for. I'm taken care of. I am supported. I'm being given these ideas and this is for my growth and expansion. This is just as natural as the trees that grow outside of my yard. Me doing this is just as natural as the grass coming back after winter. It's just as natural. And you develop that faith through repetition. When I first got into this work, I'll tell you briefly. I know we're heading towards the top of the hour, but I'm in good time. I'm in good time. When I made the decision to do this, I used to be a waitress in the winter and a gardener in the summer, and I was living, on some alimony and a little bit of child support, and I was, scraping by every month, and I was struggling. But I was comfortable in my struggling. I wanted out, but I was so comfortable with it all. I was used to like the whole thing. It was all I knew. And I went to Bob's 3-day seminar, Bob Proctor's 3-day seminar, and he started teaching this material. And everything inside of me lit up. And I was like, this is truth. And this is the truth that sets me free. And I knew it. I was like, this is what I need. And this is what everyone else needs too. And I had been on a quest in the healing arts. I wanted to serve people. I wanted to help people heal. That's why I now call my thing, it looks like healthy mind, wealthy life, or wealthy woman. But if you break up those two words, it's heal thy. When you heal your mind, when you heal all your false perceptions and concepts, and you reestablish the truth of who you are, you wheel your life. Wheel thy, wealthy. Wheel, it means you're good. You make well your life. That word wealthy is about making your life well. I wanted to help people heal so badly. And I tried all the things. Remember acupuncture and, shiatsu school and homeopathy and herbal medicine. I was on a mission, but I was like, this heals it at the root. I knew it. And I was so clear that I said, this is what I want to do with my life. And I don't only want to go through thinking into results. I want to get trained to take other people through it. I knew it. And I signed up right away. I made a quick decision based on what I knew I wanted. And it was actually to do the whole training and everything was over $30,000. And I put in a little deposit and then I went and I hit the terror barrier hard. I was like, I don't have the money. I can't do this. I'm in debt. I'm never going to be able to pay this back. What am I doing? And I called them up on the phone. I tried to get out of it. I was like, I was going to call them and say, you know what? I changed my mind because I was so good at changing my mind, right? And the woman on the phone said, just get to work, honey. I was like, what do you mean get to work? Like, I'm already working my ass off. I'm already, you know, no, she's like, no, not with your job, with the material. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. With thinking into results. Okay. Okay. I'm in. I was still so scared. I didn't know how I was going to get the money, but they who do the thing shall have the power. And I'm so grateful that she didn't let me quit because I wouldn't be here right now. And I don't, there's nowhere else I want to be. But there was one other thing I was going to say about that. Darn it. No, it's coming back. Um, well, or it's not. We'll see. It will. But my point is, I hit the terror barrier and I went through it. Oh, here it is. See, it came back. It always comes back. But then when I was getting started with the work, Bob's favorite book, he had two favorite books, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill and The Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. That book, especially that second book, has changed my life. I highly recommend you all get that book and read it. But um, I started reading Think and Grow Rich because that's what Bob always was holding, like as his Bible. And I'm like, well, I better study this book. And I was really concerned because it said, well, you've got to have faith. If you don't have faith, you're never going to achieve your goals. And I was like, I'm screwed. I don't have any faith. I didn't grow up religious. I didn't really even understand like even the whole concept of what people call God. I was just like, I thought that's what faith was. And I was like, I don't have any of it. But something Napoleon Hill says in that book has saved me, and it can save you too. He said, if you don't have faith, you can acquire it through repetition that you do have faith. So I just started repeating to myself that I have faith. I believe in myself. I trust that I'm supported. I have faith that my decisions are backed by the infinite power of the universe. And I didn't believe that at first. But it, the more I repeated it, my subconscious mind started to accept it. Remember, the repetition is what the subconscious mind, it must accept what is given to it through repetition and emotion. So I just started affirming. I do believe. I do have faith. I have so much faith. And I started acting like I had faith. That's important. You got to act like you have faith. And as you take action, you get this reaction from life that keeps supporting you. I have my clients say, you'll never believe what happened. This is so out of the blue. I'm like, no, it's not. You have been affirming and you've been studying and you have been acting according to law. This is a natural consequence, a natural outcome of working with the law, this amazing thing that just happened in your life. Coincidence is just a name that people give to some things that they can't explain through logic and reason. There's nothing random, there's nothing coincidental in it, all by law. We live in an orderly universe. So studying, that's a big thing of what we do in my mentorship program. We study. And as you study, your faith builds. Faith based on law. So I can do this because I understand the law. I'm really scared. It doesn't necessarily eliminate the discomfort. It won't. There's always discomfort in growth. But when you know what the discomfort is, you're actually like, now I see when I'm uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. I'm growing. Whereas I used to say, I'm uncomfortable. I'm out of here. You see the difference? So I believe I have come pretty much to covering everything that I scribbled on my sheet of paper that I was going to talk about today. But understanding this is what sets you free. Because you really are free, actually. But if you keep acting like you're not, you won't experience freedom. You've got to take actions like you're free. You've got to think thoughts like you're free because you are free. And one thing I wanted to just say before we wrap up and close it out for today's session is that for every single person who has registered for this class, whether you're here in Zoom, whether you're on YouTube right now watching, or whether you're watching the recording, I am inviting each of you to book an integration call with me. I will put the link here in the chat. I'm also going to send an email out. Well, let's see if I can put the link in the chat. 1 minute. Let me just finish saying what I was saying. This call is your first decision that you can make based on the identity of the woman with your goal achieved. I used to be so scared to talk to people. Don't be scared to talk to me. Every time I've said yes to talking to someone who has something that I know that I want to understand and use in my life, I've learned something and gained something so valuable from our exchange, and I've learned something more about myself. So what we do in these calls is very simple. We take a look at where you're at right now. Because you can't know where you want to go until you know where you are. Well, you can know where you want to go, but you can't get where you want to go until you really acknowledge where you are. So we take a quick look. I don't hang out there too long, ever. But we take a quick look at where are you right now? What's been happening as a pattern in your life? What have you seen during this class about yourself and what keeps repeating? And what are you really wanting to shift? And then we talk about where you want to go. We talk about your goals. What did you write about your goals in day one? Or are you struggling with setting your goals? And I can help you clarify, sometimes just based on what you don't want, what you want. And that is so I call it an integration and clarity call, really clarifying what you want. And then clarifying what do you need to get you there. And I take a bit of time, if it feels like an alignment between us, to describe what I do when I'm not doing this, what I do with my clients in my 6-month program, so you can get a sense of how to go deeper with this and actually apply it to your life for a lasting change and transformation. And there's no pressure. I'm not trying to push you into anything. It's all about discovery. This is where I am. This is where I want to go. Is this something that will help me? Do I feel like an intuitive yes? So I encourage and I highly encourage all of you to book that call. And I am putting the link in the chat right now. It will also be in an email today, and I'll put it on the portal. I stretched it out. I'm open for these calls now until not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday, because there are some days next week I'm not available. I'm going on a trip with my kids. And so it's all kind of stretched out for the next week plus a couple days so I can get everyone in. So don't wait. Look for a slot that works for you. Don't let the terror barrier hold you back. Make a decision based on where, the vibe of the woman who already has everything she needs. And you stand there and you're like, well, how did she get here? Did she talk to someone like me? If she did, just book your call. Don't get all caught up in your mind about it. I'm very easy to talk to. And I believe that's it for today. Tomorrow, I'm staying extra to see if anyone has questions. I'm going to stay on after tomorrow's session and have a good old-fashioned Q&A. So bring your questions. And I encourage you to do the homework. Keep sending it to me. People have been sending me the homework, and it's so good. People are really internalizing this. I can tell it's having an effect. And keep going. We're in a challenge here, and tomorrow is the last day. You're doing great. All right. Does anyone here live on Zoom have anything they want to ask? Okay. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. And I wish you a most beautiful rest of your day.